I have a question for you. You said that you hooked up with a guy named DJ Cougar Skin.
Yes.
DJ Cougar Skin.
DJ Cougar Skin. Yeah.
Let's
Cougar Skin condoms, you know.
Yeah.
DJ Cougar
Could you tell me
Skin.
more about this man?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I was like, I think I was 20 and I was working at this PR company. I was like an intern and he happened to be there. And I don't even know why he was there. I think he was there on like some like Red Bull case or I don't know, like Red Bull brand. I don't know. But he would come to the office at like 12 and he would like kind of glance over at me. And I just was like, oh, I thought he was like the hottest, coolest thing. I thought he was so hot and cool. And he usually I would go for like frat boy. This guy, he was just like downtown. He had like, you know, rings, like never really looked me in the eye.
He was doing this all the time, rubbing his hands together like he was about to
They were like going like
cook
this,
something
he, like,
up.
just woke up.
Go
you know what I
make me
mean?
act up.
What'd you say?
Nothing. Let's blow by that. Keep going.
And then one day he never spoke to me. Just one day he G chats me being like, want to come hang with me after? And I was like, yes. And I'm so naive and I have no game. I just went exclamation point. And we went and like, I mean, when I was younger, I used to like really like chameleon myself with guys. Like I would change who I was.
Oh, who doesn't? Because when you are that young, you're so malleable in general that you're like, I don't even know who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
You will tell me, Mr. Man, that I want to have sex with.
Exactly. So we like went to some like cool ring place and like
Cool ring place?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know, it's just some like vintage like cool place and we would hang
have
out.
rings?
It was what?
Rings
They
and
had
coins?
rings and like it was like also like a cafe. And like this is how I talk normally. I'm bubbly, but the moment I started talking to him, I was like, yeah. But like I would have like maybe 50 thoughts before I would say like one.
Oh my God. Remember how like just fucking filled with fear you were as like a young girl of like,
Yeah.
I want them to think I'm cool, so I just won't speak.
Yeah, that's what you thought was cool.
Yeah, because it's a manic-pixie dream girl thing where you're like,
Right.
I better be mysterious as fuck.
Yeah. And I'll
And
never
it works, by the way. It works.
Yeah, you always
time and
like
time
that.
again.
You
Yeah.
always want. And then, okay, my favorite part was, so he was a DJ at night, and we went to like the Jane Hotel, which at the time was like the
Poppin'.
coolest club, and I was like underage, so that was even cooler. And I'm just like sitting by him by the DJ booth, and I just love the fact that I was his DJ bitch. So he's like DJing, never looks at me, by the way, never looked at me. So I would just be like, dancing like this, being like, yeah, bitch, you're gonna fuck me later. And then, yeah, he like never like he was rude. DJ Cougar Skin was just absolutely rude. He like never introduced me to people. We'd be in a group in a circle and I would be like behind people. Never once was he like, oh, this is Tori. I'd be like, have to be like, hi, like, I'm Tori. Like I literally was just playing a character. And then, but then it was interesting. The moment I pulled away from DJ Cougar Skin, he was like, I was back in school at this point in Boston. He's like, oh, I'm gonna fly to Boston, and he would talk to me on WhatsApp because he had a girlfriend. I figured out.
Oh, DJ Cougar Skin is not a savory character. I wouldn't have guessed it.
I mean, by the way,
not a loyal guy.
He's still. I don't know where he is. He's still
In
out there.
prison.
I think we follow each other on Facebook, so maybe he'll see this.
Oh my God.
Wait, where'd you go to school in Boston?
Emerson.
Okay.
I hated Boston, by the way.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't live there anymore either.
Liam's from there.
Oh, you're from there. Okay, sorry.
No, I'm from the suburbs, so it's no offense.
What part?
Taken. South Shore.
No.
Okay,
Because I learned how to drive in Boston.
that's good actually.
Why? Because people are terrifying.
Yeah, it's if you're gonna learn. I learned there, and it's a good place to learn because you're like, oh, everywhere else is pretty chill.
I learned in LA and
That's more
people
intense.
don't know how because they're like getting texts from their like agent that are like, you got an audition for Build-A-Bear Workshop. They're like, oh, and they're about to crash their car. So they like, it's not good to drive here. Everyone's always texting and driving.
Yeah, people text. And my boyfriend texts and drives, and he's not the best driver. He's an amazing guy, not a good driver. And I made a rule. I was like, you can't look at your phone when you're driving. Like, it's just, you can't.
My boyfriend has got into several car accidents, like literally totaled his last car. And then he will drive my car like really crazy and text and drive. And I'm like, can you stop? And he's like, you need to get off my back. And I'm like,
Get off your back. You're like, I'm about to die.
Yeah,
And
like,
flip the car and probably be on your back
let's
with like
not.
the glass through my body.
Okay, hot take.
What?
Driving, why are we normalizing it? I think it's really weird. I think driving should be left to professionals only. In New York, you have to have a certain class of license. I don't like willy-nilly just people on the road. It's like having a gun. Like, it's like you have a giant fucking 2-ton vehicle and then you're just all like, oh, I can just try. You can like kill someone with a car very easily.
I have
We're
to
just like,
drive
it's
home
normal.
after this, and now I'm like really stressed.
I like to fucking drive paranoia in people's brain.
Yeah. Here's a take. I don't think men or women are like there's one is better than the other at driving.
Yeah.
But the worst drivers I've ever seen who don't care about being bad at it are all women, and they don't care. Like top 3, like 2 of them are dudes. But number 1 is always going to be a girl in my life. It's just like...
Why? Wait, why are they bad?
Because I'll drive with my friend and like he does a thing, guy. He'll look at me when he drives like this and he's telling a story. I'm like, look at the road.
Right.
He gets in accidents all the time, but he takes it.
He tells a really fucking good story, let me tell you.
He takes
Punchline
accountability.
setup.
He's like, I suck at driving. I don't know what it is. My sister... accidents all the time. She's like, yeah, it wasn't my fault. I'm like, no, it is. Like, please do something about this before you die.
Right.
Fucking, this is so bad.
I live right by Erewhon, and I guess for the people that
Brag.
I don't ever go there. I did see 2 amazing celebrities though one day. Wait, who's that guy that everyone thinks is gay but he's not gay? He's a singer.
Me?
Not Shia LaBeouf. Shawn Mendes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw
He's
him
gay.
there.
Is he gay?
Everyone like says that they think he is.
Oh.
He did have the energy.
He has gay face. Let's be honest.
He also,
you know, gay face.
He has
gay
musical
face.
theater energy. Like he graduated. Like he was the guy that got laid during like at his college for like being in musical theater
because he was like a falsetto, and girls in like musical theater are like, that's so fucking hot.
Yeah,
like you can do that. Like I usually fuck baritones, but like the fact that you're a falsetto is like.
yeah.
Wait, who else? Who was the other celebrity that you saw?
Who's the other one I saw? Oh, the Lisa Rinna's daughter from The Housewives, but she's not really a celebrity.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Delilah Bell.
I don't know,
she's
bro.
Lovely, but I have no idea. Wait, I had a question about DJ Cougar Skin.
Yeah, we can't leave this.
What is it about, young women who, you're intelligent, you're good looking, and then you're just like, you see just the biggest dirtbag of all time. And all of you at the same time are like, I fucking want that.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. How come guys on the other side, how come men see a girl who's like literally dumb as bricks, like stupid as fuck, mentally challenged, can barely like form a sentence, is like maybe the cognitive level of like a fucking 5th grader. And then they're like, oh, dude, she's so fucking hot. And I'm like, I think that if you fucked her, you'd be taking advantage of somebody because I think they don't know what's happening.
I don't know, but I do agree with that last part about taking
I think
advantage.
guys like dumb girls or mysterious girls.
Yes.
Like girls who are like, they're like, where do you live? And they're like, well, like, where do I live?
I'm homeless. I mean, unhoused.
Yeah. They're like, I'm living between. Like, I feel like a guy loves when a girl's like, well, right now I'm like living between. It's like, oh, maybe because it doesn't give you like a flag. She's unstable.
Do you know
like,
why? This is why. Like, this is when I was like in between LA and New York quite a bit. I still kind of am, but
late a lot.
I think it's because a guy's like, damn, my favorite thing about you is that you don't live here,
right?
And it's like sexy. Like sometimes, like the hottest thing, like the hottest fucking perfume you can wear is I don't live here, and because it has like this air of like you're not responsible for shit, and it's like, well, I mean, like she can't tie me down because she doesn't even fucking live here,
right.
And so it's just
that's why stewardess sometimes get hit on a lot.
Yeah, but I think that's like a fantasy too.
Yeah,
that's like you want to fuck a flight attendant. That's like hot, but
Really?
like. Right, they have cool little outfits on. I don't know. I think like Pan Am ones.
Yeah,
back in the day, like in like the 60s and 70s when they were hot. Nowadays,
Sometimes they're hot. Really? What do you
fly.
fly? What's your airline?
dude, I fly it all. I fly Delta, United.
I've seen some
JetBlue.
hot. I've seen some hotties. You haven't seen a single hottie?
I feel like they just came out of the ocean, like deep. They were like 1,000 feet underneath the sea level, and they just came out.
Like they have moppy
Maybe
hair?
it's the
I don't know
flights
what
that
it
you're
is.
taking because you keep going to like Arkansas and like Boston,
That's
and I'm
true.
just going from LA to New York.
Right,
so like,
yeah.
I see women that are flight attendants, and I'm like, I know you have web toes. I know it.
Oh.
I know. I can tell.
Yeah, they have like amphibious characteristics in their DNA. You're like, I'm pretty sure you're an amphibian.
I
Let's
saw
be
a
real.
gill on your neck, and I'm not going to bring it up. Thank you for the pretzels. But
They have that little like handkerchief that like covers their gills.
Yeah.
That's why they wear those.
But what is it? Because men are just fucking horny, and they're like, that chick's hot. I don't care about her personality. But girls,
Same thing.
Yeah, 'cause
it's
he's,
the
like-
same thing.
was hot?
He's hot, and they don't care about their person. I would like sexualize guys that were like stupid and like
Yeah.
dirt bags, but it's like they literally had like, you know, they were like tall, dark, and handsome. They had like grayish eyes, and they were like,
See, for me, it's not even how they look. It was more just like the energy they were giving me. Like I felt like they weren't giving me much, so I was like, ooh, I'm gonna like win them over.
you fill in the blanks when they don't give you that much. Like, you know, in the absence of facts, we tell ourselves stories. And I think a lot of times when you're not getting that back, are you making fun of me?
no, it was nice. It was nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She liked your hand moving.
I thought you were doing like treating me like a beat poet or some shit.
I was.
I'm like, you're like fucking Allen Ginsberg over here, fucking spitting bars.
That was a bar.
So what? So they're what? They're what?
Oh, I
Wait.
think that you fill in information that you want. So
Right.
like if somebody's being coy and mysterious, you're like, it's probably because like they're deep, and it's like,
Right.
no, they're probably just like don't care about you.
Yeah.
And like that's probably what it is. But like I think the less information, it's like why in horror films you don't show the monster if you really want to have like an effective fear into people, because whatever you fathom in your brain is as the scariest thing is going to be like very personal to you and
Right.
be the most terrifying. But if you show somebody like a toothed monster, they're like, I don't think that's scary. You
Yeah,
know?
I think DJ Cougar Skin, he just really didn't say much. I still think about him. He just like never really said much, and he just like showed me around. Also, he did this thing where he would like walk in front of me and never be like, oh, we're gonna go left. I would just like have to follow whichever way he went, and like, so we were just like, he would like cross the street and be like, oh, I guess we're crossing the street. But like if my boyfriend did that, I'd be like, babe, where are we going? But obviously with DJ Cougar Skin, I just was like, oh, I'm about to get hit, but like maybe I'll get laid later. You know what I mean? Like it didn't matter to me.
Well, I think also like to your point or your question, Liam, I think that like at that age too, like it's not, you also like you want to feel validated by like these cool guys. You're like, oh, if I fuck a cool guy
Exactly.
and he thinks I'm cool, then I'm de facto cool, which I think a man can identify with. Like if a girl that you thought was cool, like thought you were cool and wanted to bang you, you'd be like, damn, I'm fucking crushing it right now.
I'm the man.
I think
Yeah.
also like I didn't grow like in high school, like I wasn't cool. Like I wouldn't get made fun of. I just was like in my room like making my own weird shit. So I think when this guy like pinned me, like I thought he was cool, and then like when he started to like me, I was like, wait, like I'm cool. Do you know what I mean? But maybe people that are like cool in high school don't have to feel that way.
Do you think that he probably just thought you were hot?
Oh my god, do you think?
100%.
Cougar Skin?
Yeah, 100% was just like, I want to bang this like sexy redhead.
I think also a lot of guys see me as like, I had another guy once like hit on me in the subway, and we like dated for a few months, and he was
Wow.
like, yeah, I just thought you were just like this girl that like no one thought was hot, but like I thought you were hot.
my God.
And he was like, yeah, just like this curly hair, like, you know, people probably like don't think you're hot, but like I just saw something like really sexy about you. I was like, but then again, he
That's
was a-
abusive. That's like literally being like,
I just
hey,
kept-
babe,
Yeah.
you're really lucky that I love you, because it's probably going to be really hard for you to find love outside of this relationship.
Right.
But you're lucky that I see you as like value when society doesn't. And you're like, what?
have you seen Tell Me Lies?
No,
on
what's
Hulu?
that?
Have you seen that?
No.
It's this great show, and it takes place in like the mid 2000s, and there's this guy in it who's like the ultimate like manipulative fuckboy. There's a scene in it that just reminded me what you said. This girl, they're in college, and she's like, I really want to go on birth control so we can like, you know, fuck without a condom. And he turns to her and he goes, I will only not use a condom with you. And he goes, I would never want to make you uncomfortable. But then it's manipulated because you're like, wait, like he said he will only use it with me, but then he's like, I'm so special that he'll protect me. See, it's so manipulative.
I feel like the reason I even say that is because I dated somebody who like kind of told me that rhetoric, that was like, you know, it's just like your schedule is really difficult and you're lucky that like I can endure, you know, your schedule, like what you choose to do for a living and everything. And like, you know, I think a lot of guys wouldn't put up with that. And I was at the time like 22 and I was just like, oh my God, he's right. Like, I'm so lucky that he can like look past all of like these things that I have that are flaws in me.
The difference between 20s is like, it's always like, they're right. Like, they're the, like, I'm the lucky ones. But then when you hit 30s, they're like, no, 30s, you're like, no. They're the lucky ones to have me.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel.
But also, I think you're objectively hot. I think you're very hot. So I think that like that guy saying that to you is actually, because what it is, it's a way to like keep somebody in their place. To be like, hey.
You're just the girl I met on the subway.
But like, you're lucky that I think you're hot.
Honey, okay?
But it's
on
like,
the J train.
You're lucky that I think you're hot. And then you kind of tell yourself like, oh, like, I am lucky that he thinks I'm hot. I can never leave him because nobody else will think I'm hot. I think that's like, they tell you that. I think purposefully. I think they actually are purposely being manipulated.
Have you ever done that to a girl?
No.
No, but here's where I will. How old was this guy that said the
fake, subway line?
Yeah, well, the fake compliment one. Yeah, like I thought I was.
I was like 26. He was like 37.
Okay, then fuck him then. But there has been so many different times in my life where I am beginning a compliment for a woman, and I'm like, this is really nice. And then I just see her eyes in the middle of it. I'm like, oh, fuck, this is not a compliment, I guess. This is bad. Like, I would have said that, but like, yeah.
It crashes and burns. Like, sometimes you can just, a guy, anytime when you elaborate, it's usually bad. So just don't. Keep it simple. If you're just like, wow, you look really great tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of being like, you look really great tonight. I don't really see you often wear something like that, you know, probably because your calves, the way that they look, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Just end.
As a girl,
cut it off.
Guys, we just don't be creative. Just be like, you look so hot tonight. This is the words you say: hot, pretty, beautiful. That's it. Just rotate between them. Don't give me like my boyfriend the other day was like, oh, you look like a girl who's like enjoying her time in Paris. I'm like, am I hot or am I like an older woman that's retired? What the fuck are you talking about?
No, that's sound advice, because we think we need to be like, all right, how can I craft
writing
this?
poems and shit?
Don't write poems.
No.
Basic. Like, think MTV, like early 2000s, like hot, pretty. Let's go in the hot tub and fuck. Like that's all we want.
Good
I'm
to
serious.
know. Literally good
and
to
you
know.
and me are both very like intelligent girl. I mean, is that what
you're
want?
like? Well, I'm yeah. No, I do. Here's the thing, though. I will say I like creativity when it's like when they just kind of say some vague compliment that they could tell like literally any person. I like when they're like, oh, your eyes are so pretty. Like something really specific of like, my boyfriend said like, he's like, I really like the way that you like move, like the way that you walk. And I'm like, that's like a really great compliment because it's so particular to me.
Right.
As opposed to like something just like, you're pretty. And I'm like, yeah, so is that throw pillow. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. Like,
well, one time, so I'm dyslexic. And one time my boyfriend said
Boo.
to me, he was, boo?
Yeah, not good.
What are you,
Liam's an ableist. He's like a staunch ableist.
Yeah,
he thinks it's a political party. He votes ableism.
Really?
Ableism all day, dude. I got it tatted
You
on.
should see his bumper stickers on his car, dude. It's pretty intense.
I was just going to say that one time he was like, wow, you're like such a beautiful reader. And as a dyslexic, I was like, oh, that like meant a lot to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I never thought of myself as a beautiful reader. I was like stumbly reader, like, you know.
I think that like if you're specific in a way that's like then like allocated to like that person of like, oh, I like this about you, especially when they compliment things that you're insecure about.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that feels so good.
Yeah.
When like
how do you know what the girl is insecure about?
Time you learn because like in a relationship you get to know one another and then you start sharing some like fears and some insecurities and everything.
Yeah.
And if you're a manipulator, you'll take those fears and insecurities and you'll play upon them and then be like, yeah, like you have abandonment issues. You're lucky I don't leave you. And you're like, bro, what? And then I think that but if you are a wise man, if you're kind and want a healthy relationship, you listen to those fears and anxieties and insecurities and you say, I'm going to make sure I make this person feel protected and safe while they're around me and everything by saying like, oh, you're insecure about, I don't know, your chin or something and like, oh, I think like the shape of your face is so beautiful and everything. It's like that feels really good. It's a minefield though because
it's an art form.
I've gotten a lot of backhanded compliments unbeknownst to guys. Like they had no idea that they were like saying something that was like really offensive to me.
You don't know.
I remember this guy told me that I was like really pretty for like a Persian girl. And I was like, what? I'm like, I'm like Bella Hadid and like it's like Persian, like some of the most beautiful. I'm definitely not even like a pretty Persian girl. Like there's there's
pretty. I never really.
There's way more that are more but it was like this weird thing of like, like I usually don't find Middle Eastern women attractive, but you are.
As right, that's exactly what he was.
Wow, thank you so much. Like, wow, I'm so glad you just like completely put down like my entire ancestry, but then elevated me personally.
Right.
That's fucking hot.
Do you get that? Where guys are like, usually I don't think like gingers are hot, but like you're hot. And you're like,
exactly.
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah, I used to get that a lot. Of like, okay, my ex-boyfriend once said this, and this like actually didn't stick with me. It stuck with my mom once. So his parents met my parents. We were dating. We were not like getting engaged. That was already like a little strange after a year. And his mom said to my mom, like, yeah, I'll never forget the first day. Let's just call him Ben, called me and was like, oh my God, I'm never really usually into like frizzy hair redheads, but this girl is just really unique. Okay, why would you say that?
Frizzy hair is pejorative, objectively bad. Nobody's I love your beautiful frizzy hair.
Exactly. Frizzy hair, don't ever use frizzy.
Yeah, don't ever.
Don't ever, even if she's like, is my hair bad? Don't ever be like, it looks frizzy. Just be like, oh, just frizzy is the ultimate, like, you're ugly, you're like a nerd, you have braces. That's what I think about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of like as told by Ginger. You know
frizzy,
what I mean?
Frizzy is it's like the before picture.
Exactly.
It's always like that's like the before, and then they're like, well, you can't look like that.
Right. Yeah. So when my mom said that to me, that she was like, and the mother said that you had frizzy hair, I was gonna fucking kill her. I was like, well, yeah, that is fucked up. So that was a really weird backhanded compliment.
Yeah, well, so we have a question from a listener that I think kind of ties into this, which is this was sent by a female. It says, why have I never had a romantic encounter or boyfriend? Okay. Maybe she's saying fucked up shit all the time. Maybe she's
calling to break it to you. You're
what?
Unattractive.
Oh wow.
Unattractive.
Oh.
You really want to? You're gonna get canceled.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's you want the truth?
No, I don't think it's about looks. Sometimes I truly think with guys, like it's about energy. I've seen girls that are like not attractive have boyfriends, and I would always be like, when I was single, I was like, oh, why does that girl have a boyfriend? Blah blah. But I think it's just like, one, it's obviously a match with what the other person needs or whatever, but I think it's a total energy thing. I mean, how many guys I've been with so many guys that are like not typically good looking, but their energy was like so attractive.
Of course. I ditto. And I think also, I think men are stupid intuitive. Like women are actually, they have women's intuition is like a whole thing, but I think men are intuitive unbeknownst to them. So I think they'll be like, I don't know, I'm attracted to this girl. It's because they're giving out good energy, but they can't even put their finger on it. It's like why, when you're like single and you're like seeing a lot of people, you get hit up more. Like I will like literally, when I was single, I'd be like in a dude's bed and then I'd get like a text from like a bunch of different dudes.
Your energy is just giving out like you want cock.
Or even like the guys are like aware. They're like, oh, I should like, there's like, I think like something's happening. Like they don't even know. They just feel like they should reach out to you because you're like a hot commodity at the time. And then when you're fucking, you're fucking. When you have a dry spell, you're like, it's a drought.
I think what this girl needs to do, I don't think it's about her looks. I really don't. I think it's about, she needs to reassess like who she finds attractive. I'm sure she's been hit on or had dates where it's been successful. And she's like, I don't like those guys for whatever reason, but like, why not just keep going out with them? Listen, if you don't have options and you might have one pop up, at least give it a few times.
I think that a lot of people too, like I get really frustrated with I don't know if you have friends like this, but like I get really frustrated when people are like, I just really want a boyfriend, but they literally do nothing to open themselves up to this possibility. Yeah. And if you want to like have a partner, you have to date a lot. You have to like date.
Yeah.
Like I was dating so much. Like I have gone on so many dates. Like I was talking to a girlfriend about this and she's like, dude, how I got my boyfriend is that I went on so many dates. Some of them were fucking terrible. She's like, I literally went on a date with a guy who, when he met me, he's like, oh, I don't think you're attractive, but enjoy the drink. And then left. And she's like, and the next day I went on another fucking date.
You have to, it's like a job interview, and I get it. And I think also when you hit like later in like maybe in your 30s, you also are like, I'm tired, like I don't want to do this, like I'm just gonna meet someone in person. Like if you don't want to do the apps, if you want to meet someone in person, like you still have to, like, it's a job, I think.
Well, this listener says she's never had a romantic encounter.
Yeah, that's what threw me off.
But do you think here's the thing, I say it to this, I'm like, some people just won't, not to say this person has a bad personality, but some people will be like, it's like incels where they're like, oh, it's because I don't have a Chad jawline, I like am not gonna get women. I'm like, no, it's because you suck. It's literally has nothing to do with the way you look. Like you're unattractive because of the person you are. And I think that like sometimes people are shy or they don't put themselves out there. And again, it's like you have to put yourself out there and be able to like receive and be vulnerable. And very few people, it's like they want an intimate romantic relationship without being vulnerable, which is literally impossible. Yeah. It'll just never happen.
Did she say how old she was?
No, I mean, I could look at her profile, but I don't want to like, I feel like this, I don't want to like put anyone on blast.
Don't show me your profile.
I always like to,
I won't. Of course not. I don't want you to say something horrible.
Also, if this girl's never had an encounter, maybe she should go more like old school, like find a matchmaker. If you're like Jewish, go to like Jewish mingling events or Christian mingling events. If you're at a mingling event, like, you know what I mean? And maybe it sounds lame, but like if you just need like flirting, like just go to one of these events.
Okay, you know what? Do you remember that fucking show, The Pickup Artist?
On VH1?
Yeah, with like Mystery the Pickup Artist who like would wear like fuzzy hats.
Of Brett Michaels.
Oh, that's Rock of Love.
Oh, okay. I think I do know The Pickup Artist.
The Pickup Artist was basically this guy who would teach guys how to like talk to women that like really were unsuccessful, that had like a lot of social anxiety, maybe were like computer programmers and like had a hard time. The funny thing is, it's a show from like the early 2000s, so they'd be like, all right, man, first of all, we got to revamp your look. You're going to need to bleach your tips and get an eyebrow ring, and they're like, so you can be hot. And they're like,
but the fact is, you would see these guys and they were still so nerdy, but then they just had the eyebrow ring and like tips, and they'd be like, can I sit down next to you? And then you're like, he's a serial killer with hair tips. Like, it was like, yeah, you can change the outside, but if you can't work the inside, it just becomes like creepy.
Also, yeah, or they'll have like weird fake tans and shit like that. Like they did the horrible things to this guy. They're like, you got to wear an Ed Hardy shirt. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they're just like dressing this person up in an outfit they would never choose, which is not a good representation of them.
Bummer when you see it too. You're like, ah. Oh.
Yeah, you're like, God. Well, especially it's so much worse when a guy tries really hard and fails. It's so much worse than when he doesn't try at all. Because then you're like, oh, well, he's not trying. But when he tries really hard.
No, it's creepy.
that level of failure, we've seen what happens in society. The stakes are high when a guy tries really hard romantically and fails.
Wait, I want to ask, what's the worst date you've ever been on with a girl?
Several.
You've been on pretty bad ones.
Yeah.
Like what makes it, okay, yeah.
But like
maybe you've talked about this, but I'm just intrigued.
No, I left
the opposite side.
Yeah, I left a date one time just because the girl was just like being very. She was kind of.
Wasn't she flirting with like other guys in front of you?
Yeah,
on like a first date.
Yeah,
yeah, and then you're like,
That's
okay,
so
bye.
Weird.
But when I talked to you about it, you were like, oh no, she was trying to see. She was trying to test you or something. I forget what you said, but it was more of like let's see how far. And immediately I was like, no. Like,
yeah.
I will say
sure,
this.
No.
Weird.
I think women are more, they test men more often. I think guys can be, when a guy's being manipulative, I think that he like really attempts to do it. And I think most men, like if you're just like an earnest, honest person, you don't really do that. You're just like trying to approach every situation with having like a good head on your shoulders. When women, like how many times have you like played like a game, like not played a game, but like tests of like, are you gonna go out tonight? And be like,
yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting. Instead of just being like, hey, I would really like to spend some time with you if you couldn't go out tonight. Like just being honest.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no, I want you to make the choice.
Right. Yeah.
Like so psycho.
Oh wait, my favorite game I ever played once was I was seeing this guy, and I was still living in New York in the beginning of COVID, and sorry, I had moved apartments. I was. Wait, I'm trying to memorize the story because I tested him in a really good way. Oh, I was like living back home with my family in New York City, And I wanted to see this guy that would just, it was like basically just a hookup relationship. And he was like, I want to see you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, well, my parents are really paranoid about COVID. If you want to see me, you have to get a COVID test. Oh, no, sorry. This wasn't during COVID. It was like
But you didn't have, your parents never said that?
No, my parents never said that.
You just are like, how bad do you want to see me?
Exactly. I was like, and he was like, I can't get one. I was like, literally, at this point, I was like, you can, the way you like accidentally walk into dog shit in New York City, like there was accidental, like you could just get a COVID test. There were so many COVID tests everywhere.
I know.
But he did not get the COVID test. So that's
he failed.
Yeah, you failed the test.
Dude.
Yeah.
Have you ever like done something with a chick that you've like, okay, I kind of want to see where she stands and I'm not going to be direct? I think men, it's hard for them to be direct. Like women will test, but also will be direct. And guys are like, I'll just keep this in because I don't want to rock the boat.
Right.
I want to come later. So I can't say anything, or I might not be able, she might not make me come.
Oh yeah. For like, just like keeping an opinion to myself type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like about their friends or something.
Oh, all of the time. I mean, like, not if I'm in a relationship, no. Because then I'll just be, I don't want to, even if it's like a really small lie, I'll be like, I don't like that. What that girl said sucked, but I'll do it like later and I'll make it, I won't be like angry about it. I'll be like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Annoying that bitches. And then just like, but yeah, on like a hookup type of thing, if a girl's just like, we've talked about it, if a girl's like, I love Trump on a date, and I'm like, he's my favorite man of all time.
Right, yeah. There are definitely some like weird.
She says anything, she's like, I think we should kill all the dolphins. I'm like, my grandfather was the #1 dolphin murderer of
And she's
the
like,
70s.
that's fucking, that makes me so wet.
Yeah.
That makes me as wet as a dolphin's body. Let's fuck.
Soaked in its own blood. Yeah, so,
I am soaked in seawater right now.
yeah, but like also it's good to have, you got to play it carefully because you don't want to be like yes to everything because then she's gonna be bored of you. So you have to pick opinions that you have to like say at very, you got to think about the timing, because if you're like yes to everything, she's gonna be but if you're like well actually I that side the steel work up there, it's not what you said is dumb, like you can't be doing that shit.
I've had so many, like, have you ever gone on a date with a guy that like you're just like, I don't even strongly disagree with what you're saying, but like I just want you to be challenged because I'm like so aggravated with how confident you are about your fucking opinions.
Oh yeah, I had.
And I'm like,
oh my, this is reminding me.
I just push back. Like I'm like, oh really? Well, I've never actually heard about that. Well, actually, the Byzantine Empire was not during that time period. No, it actually, look it up.
I had a guy once. Okay, tell me if you think this is wrong. I had this guy. We went on a date, and he was honestly. I'm gonna be honest. The only reason I went on a date with him because he was like a cool photographer, but also his dad was a famous chef. And I was like, I'm going to be honest, like way more excited about the opportunity to eat at the father's restaurant than go on a date with him. I'm just going to be honest.
That's cool.
So we went on the date and he had the energy of like, he just took like a 101 improv class.
Oh my God.
Do you know what I mean? Or like he was like the leader of his like improv like troupe at like a church. It was just like a lot.
So he had no penis.
That's the,
a
that's
penis.
the worst energy you can have.
It was the
A
worst.
penisless man.
It was
Just
the
improv-y
worst. But I was
penis.
just like, well, like I always like do the benefit of the doubt. So we're at a place. Oh, and then he like took me to, this was in New York. He like took me to Soho House to like show off he was cool. I'm like, the Soho House, like that's not even that cool anymore.
The Soho House is like
It's
Starbucks,
dead.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's 7-Eleven. Like
Yeah.
it's not cool. Okay. So then we were hanging out there, and then at one point we were talking about the weekend, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Whatever." And I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, well, I have a wedding, and then I actually have another date." And this was a first date, and I remember being like, "Oh, that's like, I'm gonna be honest, that was very weird. You just told me that."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well," and this was off of Hinge. He's like, "Well, I'm sorry, like I'm just newly single, and like I'm just trying to be honest." And like, but we just met on Hinge, and honestly, like I'm just way more excited about you. I don't even want to see this other girl. But it was just so.
And then he like,
And then I was like, wait, is that? But that's a weird fucking thing to say.
I think some people don't realize. Okay, I think maybe men.
We're not a job interview.
No.
You can't be like, oh yeah, like
I have other opportunities on the table.
It was so weird, but like
the offer better
yeah,
match
I'd rather,
my
like,
highest.
fuck
Fuck
you.
this
It was so
Filipino
weird.
chick in like 2 hours.
Yeah. It was so weird. But like, I also think it takes a certain guy to say that. Like, I can't imagine you would ever say that.
No, that's
Yeah.
a fucking
Well,
idiotic thing to do.
It's rude. Like I think that like a lot of times, I think men kind of do this sometimes where like in lieu of being like, I don't want to be rude, they're then just brutally like, I don't want to lie, then they're just brutally honest to the point where they're rude. And I'm like, I actually wish you didn't say anything. Yeah. You're like, but I don't want to lie. I'm
exactly.
like, omitting things is not lying. You're just not saying something.
Exactly. And I said that. I was like, he's like, well, I didn't want to lie. And I was like, but you didn't have to say this. He's like, well, you asked me what I was doing this weekend. I was like, yeah, if you told me that, you also should have told me like how many shits you're planning to take this weekend and like piss and like what you're going to eat and like what's probably going to make you gassy. Like, you don't have to tell me every fucking thing.
Yeah, that's like a really, I think as like anytime, I don't know, I was talking to a friend about this recently too, of just like when a guy's like, tells you somebody that he like that you're hanging out that like he fucked them and you're like, why did you tell, like, I don't need to know that. And I'm like, do you know how much I save you from like how many times a guy has met somebody that I fucked that I just don't say anything because I don't want to make them uncomfortable, instead of me being selfish and be like, well, babe, I just wanted to be like honest with you. It's like, that's rude. Like, you didn't need to know that I like slept with some random guy that we met at a party like years ago. So what? So you feel insecure? So you can like judge yourself based upon this person? It's like, why does, if it was an ex or like it actually is something that I should share, but if it's like, oh, I had sex with this person like once like 5 years ago and we like ran into them, why am I gonna be like, I fucked him?
Right.
Just so you know. Anyway, what are you gonna have for dinner?
Yeah.
Like, that's so mean. You know, like, I don't know. Sometimes, like, my boyfriend will tell me, like, he's like, yeah, well, I used to, but it was fine. And I'm like, why? Like, I don't need to, like, fucking erase my brain, please.
Yeah.
Because now I'm just like, she's not even cute. And he's like, she's actually really cute. I'm like,
You are digging such a fucking hole, and I fucking hate you.
I have a
now.
question. If when you're dating someone and you see that they dated someone less attractive than you or more attractive than you, which one are you more mad at?
I think I'm more mad when they're less attractive than me.
Really?
Yeah, because if they're hot, I'm like, that's cool. Because then I feel like I'm in that category.
Okay.
But I will say, I could see both sides. Because then if I feel like I'm the hottest girl they've been with, I'm like,
Well, you'll never leave me.
I'm clearly so,
You're
just the best.
luckiest guy on the earth. One time I got into a big fight with my boyfriend and I literally was on the phone in New York crying in a beret in Murray Hill going in front of a tasty light going, I am literally gorgeous. Like, I don't think you realize how I am literally breathtaking. But I'm like crying in a beret. I'm like, I'm fucking breathtaking. Do you know what I look like? I am a stun. I'm a head turner, okay? But yeah.
Oh my God. No, I remember getting into a very contentious fight where like I kept just going because I was so appalled that I knew that he fucked this person. And I was like, she's not even cute. She's like, well, and I go off. And then he's like, if you don't think she's cute, I fuck girls that are way uglier than her. I like doubled down, and I was like, well, I'm glad that you're probably really fucking proud of yourself that you just fuck ugly pieces of shit. Yeah. And I'm just one of them, aren't I? He's like, no, you're really beautiful. I'm like, really? Am I more beautiful than her? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, that's the first time you've ever said that.
Right.
And I'm like,
Dude, that's what a rock star thing to do. Just be like, oh, you thought she's ugly? Look at these 5 uglier
look at
chicks.
these dogs that I've put my cock in. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, so you have probably had to deal with some of the most horrific shit ever because you're a redhead ginger type. And I feel like you guys just get,
Liam just is a ginger denier. He doesn't believe that he's a ginger.
No, I am, but like I'm not. I'm not in your face about it. Like this is like
I'm not in your face about it. That's so funny. That's someone who clearly doesn't. If a guy's complimenting me like you're a redhead, you're like a in your face redhead. I'm like, oh, so you don't like redheads?
Well, where's your burqa?
No, my
I'm surprised you
mother's
just didn't wear like a headscarf.
Yeah, sorry.
my mom has the same hair as you.
Yeah.
And she's told me is like, yeah, people just say horrible things.
Like
and
what?
They're just like,
You shouldn't procreate.
I mean, I've had people like a lot of backhanded compliments. This one woman was like, you have the most like crazy hair. Have you ever thought like of shaving it off? But then I was like, oh, she wants to buy it.
What?
Oh.
Wait, this
really
is so weird.
what is she gonna do with it?
I don't know. And then a guy on a date once who already, this was like one of the worst dates. He was like flirting with the waitress. He was definitely like on some type of like meds because I told my therapist the story and she was like, oh no, he sounded like manic. And at one point he looks at me and he goes, you seem like a freak. And I go, and I was like, I'm not going to fuck you tonight. And he just like took his drink and he was like, touche. And then he asked me, he was like, what do you want? Like, what are you looking for? I was like, oh, I mean, I'm just looking to like have fun now, but like if I have a good connection with someone, like, lead to something serious. He goes, bullshit. I call bullshit. He goes, all you girls are the same. He goes, see you look like you don't want a relationship, but you're just like all the other girls. I was like, I don't know. He was taking some shit out on me.
He sounds like a psychopath.
He was a psychopath.
No, but the guys, when
man.
they say like, I could tell you're a freak. And I'm like, you just want to like suck my tits in public. Like that's pretty much. So
Yeah,
I could be like,
weird.
I am a freak.
Who the fuck would say that to a person?
Because they just want to fuck them that night, and they're hoping that girl is like thirsty enough, which is fine. Like I don't mean that as a bad thing, being thirsty. It's like sometimes like you're like, fuck, I haven't had sex in a while, and then somebody's like giving you really strong sexual energy, and you're like, yeah, let's fuck.
Yeah.
Like I just need to get touched.
Right.
You seem like a freak. That's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, that was.
I don't know a single human man that would say that to someone on a date, I hope.
Well, this guy was like
Barely a human man, clearly.
He was like truly insane, and he was like, and my mother's a therapist, and I was like, oh, like that must be like really cool. He goes, no, it was horrible. She's a fraud, and I was like, okay, it was really weird. This guy.
Oh, I've gone on dates with like people that I'm like, oh, this person is like borderline schizophrenic. Like I'm like, he's like, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw him like pushing a fucking shopping cart like down the street, like screaming at clouds. Like and you're like, okay.
I think it's also hard. I talked about this too. I think it's easier to date if you're basic, because you just go for basic people. But like people that are like us, that are like creative but also like stable, sometimes we don't want the too stable people because we find them boring.
Yeah.
But then the other side is like they're so crazy, so it's very hard to find like the person that's like
that's a really good point. That's very true.
Because I've dated so many guys where I'm like, you're off the wall. Like, how did I end up dating you? But then I was like, obviously there was some level of like a creative artist attraction.
Before I settled down, I would try so many different things. And I remember dating guys that I'm like, God, I wish I could be into this guy. Like, he's like such a sweet guy, has a good job. And he's like, he's like a good person. But I'm just like so bored by them. And then it's like somebody who's like evasive and like kind of, but really interesting, like makes really cool shit.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this is more interesting. But it's also like really, my emotionality is like toggling between, it's oscillating between like psychosis and like stability, and this isn't
I think
healthy.
Yeah, people, we're not like one person. Like, you're not just a comic, or like, you know what I mean? We're all different forms of people, so it becomes hard with like dating, because you're like, oh, I want to date a crazy artist, but you're like, is that stable for like a relationship? So you kind of have to like figure out.
Well, I would say though, don't you think that people project that onto you? Because I feel like that's happened to me, where like, especially because I like have DJ'd for a living for so long, and guys were like, I don't know if I could like, I'll fuck her, but like, I don't really want to date her. I don't want to date a girl who's like fucking DJing until like 2 a.m. and like probably getting hit on and everything. Right. And I'm like, and that's, I don't know, that's to each their own. I get it. And I can actually understand like why somebody wouldn't be into that. But I feel like I've gotten
But then you've had the opposite probably, where guys are like, oh my God, like I just want to like see you DJ, like DJ 24/7. Maybe they're like so attracted to the fact that like you DJ.
I think a lot of times there is a, this kind of like, I call it like the birdcage like kind of dilemma, where like a man will be really attracted to because you're so free,
right,
and have all of these incredible things going on, and then what they want to do is have you and capture you and put you in a cage as this free thing of like, I got this free thing, and everything that they fell in love with you like for, they then want to just hoard for themselves, and I've had that happen to me, where it's like, oh, you just want to like clip my wings and like have me stay in this fixed position. I think I might have said this on an episode before, but I heard this from a therapist, where men go into a relationship thinking the woman is like never going to change, and like in a good way. It's just like, oh, she's going to be the same forever. And a woman goes into a relationship being like, he's going to change.
Right, exactly.
We just have completely incongruent expectations.
I think also like I've had this, maybe tell me if you have, where guys are like, oh my God, you're so fun, like you're so different, and then I'm like, but then I'm also a human, where like yeah, I'm fun, I'm cool, I'm a comic, like I'm not embarrassed by things, but then also like I'm a Jewish girl from the Upper East Side. Like I like to complain. Like, you know what I mean? So sometimes they're so attracted to like my fun side, but then like I have another side where I'm like, oh, I want to be like a little Jewish girl in bed. Like I think they just that's why they say like love them for everything. You know what I mean?
You have to love somebody comprehensively because like I've had that too, where like I definitely appear on the surface of like she's super cool, like she's comic, and she's like a DJ, and like she's like a sick record collection, she blah blah blah, and I'm like I literally have a severe anxiety disorder, and I'm on medication, and I'm like I have so much things that like don't pertain to me being like let's go party rockers in the house, you know?
Don't, like come out of the bathroom at like 8 a.m. being like who's ready to party. Like I am a cranky bitch in the morning, and yeah, I become fun between like
I
11.
cry,
yeah,
I get weird,
I
sometimes.
can't get in elevators. I have weird anxiety. Like I think
You can't get an elevator?
Yeah, I have a weird thing with elevators.
You can't take any elevators
I
ever?
can, but I can only take them with people because I got stuck once alone.
How long did you
When?
get
An
stuck?
hour on the 21st floor.
That's too long,
yeah,
actually.
it was traumatizing. But yeah, I think maybe the listeners can relate, but I think that becomes like, so when a guy when I used to date will be like, you're so fun, it was almost like triggering for me because I had a guy basically break up with me because like I think when he got to like know like every aspect of me was like, this is not what I want.
Liam, you've brought this up before because, you know, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, well, he's a comedian. Like, you know, like a girl will be like, oh, he's like funny. He's like such a silly guy. And you're like, and then like maybe you date for like a little bit and they're like, wait, why aren't you being silly? And you're like, because I'm also like a person who just chills too and like is not always like, a bada bing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this was a while ago, but this girl would be like, I would just be straight up chilling out, not in a bad mood or anything, just not on, not being like performative and just funny and fucking dancing. Like she was like, what's up?
wrong?
What's wrong? And I was like, I'm having a pretty good day.
Yeah.
I thought this was going well.
Yeah.
And then like she was like, it's like you're not there. I'm like, no, it's not making you laugh for like
Yeah,
20 minutes.
yeah.
Fucking chill out.
Yeah.
Like, give me like an hour. Fuck.
Yeah, give me an hour.
Yeah.
No, that's like, I think though there is like something threatening about like a silent man. Like I'm like, what are you thinking about? Are you mad at me?
I get
Are
that.
you
My
upset?
boyfriend
Do you
does
want
that
to
a
leave
lot.
me?
I'll be like, are you okay? He's like, I'm literally just like tired. I'm like, are you just? But then now he's done it. I'm like,
this relationship?
yeah, exactly. You're right. Nothing's scarier than a tired man that just wants to be on Instagram. Because I'm like, what are you doing? But then I've just been like, all right.
Are you
like,
dissatisfied with me? Like if we haven't spoken in a few hours, I'll be like, you're probably dissatisfied with this relationship, aren't you? You just want to like I'm going into my head and these intrusive thoughts just spiraling, and they're just like, hey, so do you want to catch a movie later? And I'm like, yes, to save our relationship, we must.
But you're like spiraling all day, and they literally haven't thought about one thing in relation to your spiraling. And the moment they text you, like, I knew it, I'm the winner. I didn't text back first, and they literally haven't thought about you. They probably thought about the burrito, and like they want to take a shit more than you. Like I'm gonna be honest, but like, yeah, it is just funny that the way we like I don't know, spiral things, blow things up. I don't know.
Probably anxiety, you know.
Yeah.
Liam, you had a question from one of the
Yes.
listeners. I'm
So we have
curious.
a question from a listener who's also an employee here at Friday Beers.
Wow, called out. There's not that many employees here, so I feel like I can actually know who this person is.
I'll tell you after, but let's go in blind. I'll say his name. I don't care, but we can. I want you guys to hear it.
Okay.
Hey guys, love the pod.
Hi, sharks.
Sorry in advance for the long question, but recently I found myself in a situation where I'm dating two girls at once. Both girls wanted to take it slow at first. ... As in wait to pork. I'm coming up on my fourth date with each girl. In the process of taking it slow has me catching feelings for each lady.
This is like The Bachelor.
Yeah.
I can sense I'm gonna get to smash each of them in T-minus 1 to 2 more dates. I'd love to keep it going with both girls, but at what point does it go on for too long and I become a scumbag? How long can I ride this wave?
Oh,
Thank you for the question, listener.
I might come from a more easy breezy background, less conservative about this, but I think it's completely fine. I think that you can date as many people as you want until you have a conversation with that person. So like, when you're
4
dating,
dates is like nothing.
that's nothing. And he should have sex with both of them. And like, if he really likes both of them, that's awesome. And like, keep going through it. There might be something that happens with one of them. Look, one of those girls might not be maybe emotionally available. Maybe she's not that into him.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I've totally been in that situation before. I'm like, oh, I really like a few of these guys. And it feels really exciting, actually.
It's a high.
It's a high. It's fun. And so he should enjoy it. When the point where he's a scumbag, quote unquote, is if he is lying to them. If they're like, hey, like, are you seeing somebody else, or like, then if either of these women ask for any clarity, and then he's evasive, that's bad. But what I try to do when I was single, I would try to keep that running as long as possible. Like, I'm like, how can I like, I just want to like date until like we have like, because I've done that for like a few months. Yeah. You know, with some people, you're just like, oh, okay. Until they're like, hey, like, so are you seeing other people, or what is this necessarily? And then I'm like, fuck, like, all right, the jig's up. I guess you got me.
Or I think another thing with
take me away.
This guy is if he like starts to do the thing where he like talks about the future as if they're gonna like date, and doing that to both of them, then that's not that they'll ever find out, but I think that's also an issue, because girls get so wrapped up in like, I have friends, I've been there, where it's like, but he said he like couldn't wait to go to like Paris with me, and we go to this and that. I'm like, that's why like I don't really believe guys until like I'm actually like doing that thing with them.
No, I totally.
So I think I don't like when guys do that.
I call that future talk.
Yeah.
When guys inundate you with future talk with no desire to even actually do those things, but they're just, it's almost like they're perpetuating this romanticism to you to make you think, to make you feel secure, but you're like, dude, you didn't even need to say any of that shit. I remember like hanging out with this guy. I literally just only went on a few dates with him, but like the first date, he was so like enraptured by me and so like, God, you're amazing. Like, well, I can't wait till I see one of your shows, and like kept just being like, well, when you meet like my best friend who you'll meet, you're gonna love her.
I hate
blah,
that.
Blah,
when
blah.
when we meet, when we go here, when you meet.
Oh my God, my mom would blah blah blah. But and you're just like, okay, and I don't use that language. I don't talk in future talk. I'm very like present until like you kind of establish, until you're like dating actually, and then you can be like, oh, do you want to like do this next week? I'm even wary to like plan like in like a few, like, oh, do you want to go on a trip in a month? I'm like, I don't fucking know if this is gonna. I try to not talk like that, because it really like, that's what fucks with people. Like these girls, if this guy then kind of like makes plans and then doesn't like uphold them, and shit happens, I get it, but like when you perpetuate this kind of idea that like, hey, like this is gonna ride for a long time, and it kind of fucks with people, because then you're like, wait, why did they just say that so I would like fuck them or like do this?
Yeah, no, it's bad.
It's not good. And I understand, like,
I also think though it's because guys think in like the moment, and maybe they really do want, because they like you so much and they do think about that, but I think girls have a filter to like not say that. I think girls are just more able to like think before they say something.
Yeah, well,
they, like more have like, oh, this might hurt their feelings.
Liam, have you ever like, have you ever done something like that? Do you identify with that? Or like, because I mean, you've mentioned that like a guy does like a girl, but then like after the cum leaves his body, he's like, it's like, no, I really did like her. I just like, after I come, I'm like,
is that true?
Yeah, sometimes.
What?
Sometimes you'll build up a relationship more in your head when you haven't had sex, especially if like you're waiting, and then it's always kind of nerve-wracking, because they're like, oh fuck, are we gonna have sex? And I'm just gonna be like, no, it was just that I was physically attracted to her,
right? And
it leaked, and my brain tricked itself into fucking.
So the feelings went away with the cum.
Yes, which will happen sometimes. I don't think you can. For this guy, for old Lukey Boyd, who's one of our
first and last name.
Yes. No,
Hope
I don't.
The girls don't listen.
No, yeah, fucking. I asked him if I could. He said he didn't care.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Yeah, I think you can like date two people at the same time, but once you're getting, you're.
I think
sex,
3 months. Yeah, sex, I guess, or like.
It's just weird. I wouldn't be like having like sex with two people at the same time.
Yeah, multiple.
Like,
yeah.
And then like just, I guess you could chalk it up to morals, but it's mostly just like I wouldn't be able to, I would be like, who did I tell that to? Like, this is.
Oh, that's the worst, when you like forget what you said to the person, and then you're like, damn, this is difficult. And they're like, yeah, you already said that. And you're like, oh yeah, sorry, that was Oh man,
I've
even almost let like the name slip, like where I'd be like, "Hey Jason, fuck, his name is fucking Tyler, not Jason," and I'm like, "Ugh."
But yeah, I would feel guilty if I was like, if you're dating. I've never really been like, oh, I'm gonna date like
multiple
dates at the same time. I'm like, I go on like one date with this girl. I'm like, all right, there's a second one, and I like just like kind of focused on that.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't work out, then I start looking for another date. But I've never been like what you were saying, where it's like, oh, I got like a bunch of different things going on at the same time. Mostly, I think just because I can't like mentally.
I think women though, like, you know, men and women are like skilled with different things, and I think that women are very good multitaskers, and I think that men are not as good. They're very much like the objective is one thing, which I think both are great. I think that you being able to like, okay, I want to completely give all of my energy to this one thing. Oh, it didn't work. Now I move on to another thing. I think women just like naturally were very we're really good at multitasking, because I think that we probably had to, like, as women are mothers, and they had to probably like take care of a kid and also cook and then do this, and like I can do a lot of things at once, and I think that there's like opportunity. You feel like, because really relationships are all about like timing. So I feel like, oh, I can't just like give my energy to this one guy, because, oh, this other guy that I like is like and that might not work in the future. Or like, you know, your ship's passing through the night sometimes when you're dating. Yeah. And so I don't know. And also like men, I mean, if you put all your fucking cards on the table for like one dude, and then he's kind of like, oh, actually, yeah, like I'm not really into this, and you're like, fuck,
right?
Why did I do, like, you know? So I think that women, in order to, it's like hedging your bets,
right?
You just are like, I want to, like, it's fucked up, but you're like, and again, I think that's fine if you're communicative with it, and I think that maybe it's a more regional thing. Like, I think in bigger cities in LA and New York, it's like normal to like date like a lot of people at once, and to like when you're single, it's more of like this vibe that you have where you're like, I'm kind of fucking hip hopping around.
Yeah.
And maybe in other places, like the dating culture is totally different. And they're like, oh, well, I think that's disrespectful. And I'm like, you know, to each their own. I've never felt like, I will say that I've never felt like guilty about it. I've never like deceived somebody. I've definitely like, I'm sure a guy was really into me and was like, she's the one. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like seeing other people and I'm not really in that headspace. But I never fucking, you just are projecting a lot of romanticism on me, and I'm not fucking giving you that. You just want to be.
I've been introduced you to one of my friends.
Yeah.
I brought you to my apartment.
Why? Do you know why I haven't introduced you to one of my friends? You know?
Yeah.
Come on now. Do you have any, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You mentioned some, you've dated a lot. Uh-huh. Okay. So like, and you've mentioned some bad dates.
Okay.
Is there any like standout horrendous story that you have of like, oh shit, or like either even just a date or somebody you dated that then like turned into like a fucking rotten egg?
Well, the guy that I said the touche line, that was like a pretty crazy date.
That was fucking awesome.
I'm trying to think if there was more to that story.
Or has somebody ever like deceived you that you've dated, or done something where you're like, I can't believe this person fucked me over like this?
No, but I have been like just like I would give guys that I knew I had no future to like so much of my time. Like, I went out with this one, just because, like, when they're hot to me or they're an alcoholic, I don't know what it is, but there's just something unstable that I'll go for, like, 4 months and still hook up with them. Oh my God. I met this guy in, do you know the place in New York, Old Man Hustle?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so there's one location in Brooklyn, one in the Lower East Side. And the Lower East Side
one... bar?
Yeah, it's like a comedy club too.
Yeah, but the one in the Lower East Side is like literally the size of like a walk-in closet, and then there's like a stage. And I had a show there once at like 5 p.m. and there was this really cute guy in the audience drinking alone, like hence being an alcoholic.
And you're like, he's like Hemingway. He's so mysterious.
Yeah.
Jack Kerouac at the bar over here.
I just thought he was so hot. And then we had this like crazy night where we went to like a strip club, but even before then, this should have been a very red flag. We were just talking about like where we grew up, very normal things. And then out of nowhere, he's like, are you into chains? And I was like, if it wasn't for this like blonde hair, blue eye baby in front of me, I would be like, this guy's really weird. But I just thought he was so hot that I was like, I mean, like, I've never been into it, but like, I don't know. And then he basically was telling me how this girl he used to date was into chains, and he built this whole chains for.
Do you know who else had blonde hair and blue eyes? Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer.
And he built this whole thing. And he was like, well, I never get to try it. And usually, like, that should have been like, I walked away. Okay, if you're into chains.
I never got to try it. It's not fucking a golf simulator. It's like, I built this whole golf simulator and, I don't get to try it.
I get to try it. So then I, like, continued the night with him. And we had this, like, crazy night. We go to Pumps, which is, like, in Bushwick. And it's, like, a strip club, but, like, a kind of, like, grungy one. Have you been there?
No, but I heard it's fun.
Okay, so we went there. And then I'm getting, like, a lap dance. And the whole time I'm, like, pretty uncomfortable. But I'm like, I need to be hot for him. Like, I'm just thinking about him the whole time. And then we get back to my place. And then, you know what? I have to say, I didn't have sex with him, but we did, like, everything else. And I just was like, the next day, even though I was like, oh, I know this guy's just for fun, I became, like, truly obsessed with him. Like, when I would get a text from him, it would be like, oh my God, like, and I would see him maybe like once every 2 weeks. And then my favorite, this is when I knew he was an alcoholic. One time, well, he drank a lot and he'd seem like totally fine. And so one time he came to my apartment and he slept over, and like maybe sometime in the middle of the night, I lived in a studio and the apartment door was like, I heard it close and I was like, wait, did he just like leave the apartment? That's what we're just, but his phone was there. So I opened the outside door and he's fully naked sitting on my steps, like basically about to take a shit because he thought that was his toilet.
Shut the fuck up.
Again, you would think I'd be like, this is grossing me out. I literally was like,
you silly goose.
I literally was not even grossed out. I just was so attracted. Just like, come back into bed. And
what the fuck?
Yeah, it was crazy.
What? No, there's so many secret alcoholics in New York that you accidentally date that is just like, I remember dating this guy who was like, oh my God, he's such a hardcore alcoholic, that I didn't realize until like, because I was like, oh, he's fun. And then like we'd get breakfast in the morning and he'd be like Bloody Mary.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, he like literally has to drink or he's gonna like have a seizure.
Yeah.
And like, no, he would literally take like, I had like some booze at my place, and literally one day we were just like chilling, like gonna watch a movie, and he literally like, pours himself a shot of vodka and like he just like does one like compulsively, and I'm like, oh no, like he's physically dependent on alcohol, and I've been tricked for like fucking weeks.
Yes, because you're just seeing them at night. So then when you see them in the day, like this guy,
and their skin is gray, but you've always like been at like a bar with like candlelight, so you're like, oh, candlelight's the most fuckable lighting on the face of the earth. I think that's why people banged so much back in the day. Like, think about the fucking like, oh my God, like the Renaissance, where it's just all candlelight. I'm like, everyone looked hot.
Think
as
about the
fuck.
smell.
yeah.
The smell of
The
what?
Renaissance.
Oh yeah, just like actual, just like shit and piss.
But
but the candlelight.
The candlelight was the best.
Moon.
How did it end? Oh, it ended with this guy because eventually, like, I saw him and he was like, hey, I know we only see each other at night, but I like actually really want to date you. Now, like, for a guy that's like just been your fuckboy, this is like what you've always kind of wanted to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of a dream.
It is a dream. It was maybe like after 5 months, and then we like planned a date, and he had like texted me at like 11 a.m., which never had happened. Like, how's your editing going? Because I was like, oh, I can only hang out at night. And all day he's like, oh, can't wait to see you. Then I'm like, what time are you going to the movies? And he basically was like, fuck, I didn't know the movie was so late. And then he became very self-deprecating. Like, I just got out of the shower. I'm such a piece of shit. Like, I didn't realize the movie. And I kept being like, we can see a different movie. And then he just like, I never
heard from him ever again.
I heard from him.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
2 weeks later.
Dude, shit like that happens like... Guys are literally that crazy. We're like, I'll tell a guy friend like about, I'm like, oh, and this guy did that, and they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, dude, y'all do that sometimes. We're like, you'll literally be like, hey, like, I'm really into you, I really like you, let's do this, blah 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 blah, and you'll literally hang out for months, and then all of a sudden they just never talk to you again, and you're like, are you in jail? Like, what happened? Did you get arrested? Are you dead? Like,
just fading away into the night.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. But I heard from him again, and he was like, I'm sorry, like, I'm just going through a lot.
I'm
like,
really, like, complicated.
No. He's like, I know you'll never forgive me, and I know you never want to see me again.
And you're like, I do forgive you.
Yeah,
remember?
exactly.
Your blonde hair, blue eyes, I love you.
I literally was like, if I didn't see my therapist and told her, I had, like, a strong therapist at the time that was like, fuck him, and I was like, I know. I was like, I want to, you know? And, but yeah, I didn't respond to it, so I'm proud of myself for that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was like a stupid 5 months of my life.
Well, I think that
about
wraps it up. That about wraps it up. I think we answered some good questions today.
Yeah.
You know, Tori, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, so I have my first ever comedy half hour coming out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well,
Congratulations.
It's not out yet, but it's coming out. So if you want to follow me on my Instagram or TikTok, whatever.
Yeah.
It's all the same. It's just my name, Tori Piskin. Tori with an I, and then Piskin, Piskin. And it should be on there soon.
Yeah, we definitely follow Tori because she's really fun. You actually post a lot of really great videos and stuff, like your stand-up, but also like a lot of stuff that you write and your sketches and your man on the street stuff is like really, really funny.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Give her a follow. And thanks for listening.
This is my NPR voice.
I love it.
Thank you for listening
It's so
so
sexy.
much. Thanks. Okay, bye.
I always say goodnight.
Good night. It's like
Thank
11
you.
a.m.
Yeah, I'm like, good night.
Oh.